Welcome back to the channel, and today we are debuting our new series, which is going to be covering the 7th series of the 1967 Topps set. As I've mentioned before in previous videos, it's considered to be the second most difficult set to complete from the vintage era because of the scarcity of these cards. I'm going to introduce the series itself in this video by starting with a 6th series card, which features the cards that are upcoming in the 7th series, which is the checklist card. The checklist card appears in each of the previous series except for the series 1 where you see 2, they appear towards the end of that series and introduce the subsequent series. And you can see they always have a floating player head that kind of introduces the big player that might be featured in that upcoming series. In this case, it was a former league MVP, Brooks Robinson, who does have a card in the 7th series. What I like about these checklists from the era is a couple different things. One, they're a little bit harder to get because a lot of people just kind of discarded them. They weren't the player cards, especially ones that don't have like these floating heads and things like that. People just sometimes throw them away, so they're a little harder to find in general in vintage card sets. And as you can see here, sometimes it's hard to be able to find them in perfect condition, as mine actually has check marks on the player card. So this person, whoever owned this card previously, did a pretty good job of being able to complete the 7th series, but was still missing some key cards in there. As you kind of see, he doesn't have all of them, he or she that worked on that set during that time period, but they had quite a few of them as you kind of go through the list. So they were cut short of finishing that at some point, but it's kind of fun seeing their progress now currently looking at it back, from like 50 plus years or more, looking back on this set. So the 7th series, why is it so difficult? I've covered this in my complete set video, but I'll reiterate it for the purposes of this series. So by the time this was released, it was released in the fall. And unlike some previous years, this one was released like in the heart of the football season. They estimate that it was released sometimes in late September. So like when kids were collecting cards at that point, they were already moving on to the next sport that was really starting up, which was football at that time period. So they were less inclined to be able to try and go chase after baseball cards. And as a result, a lot of the dealers that would have cards, which would be like storefront, grocery stores and otherwise, would have still a lot of cards left from the 5th and 6th series, so they wouldn't order cards from the 7th series. So that was also part of the reason. And there's also like a rumor too that these cards never really were distributed west of the Mississippi, which I don't know is necessarily true or not. But as a result of it, you have scarcity in general, and the print sheet also resulted in some cards being double printed while other cards are short printed. Most of the cards are short printed in this set. The ones that are double printed are ones they had to kind of put on the edges to finish off the print sheet. And all the big rookies are going to be ones that are short printed in this. So you have like Seaver, you have Rod Carew are going to be short printed, as well as the stars. So that makes it a little bit more challenging being able to complete this set. And also why it kind of explains why some of the cards are actually pretty inexpensive in comparison to some of the ones that are going to be much more expensive. Some of the highlights that we're going to be reviewing coming up is you have like, I consider like sort of the 5 big players in here. You got your Jim Bunny, you got your Rocky Colavito, you got your Brooks Robinson, and then you got your Tom Seaver, and you got your Rod Carew. Might even put Mike Shannon there as kind of the big cards in this series, just because of the teams they were playing for at the time, or because of them being stars or future Hall of Famers. So that is what I have for you now. It's the 6th series card, but of the 7th series checklist, and it's the first chapter in this series. I'll be back next month with subsequent cards, starting with card number 534, which will be manager of the, at that time, championship Baltimore Orioles, Hank Bauer.